Merrimack TV is committed to our community. From gavel-to-gavel coverage of town and school board meetings to updates on town services and projects, we aim to keep you connected.
Good morning, I'm Kyle Fox, Public Works Director for the town of Merrimack.
Hi, I'm Diane Trippett. I'm the town clerk tax collector for the town of Merrimack.
I'm Captain Matt Tarleton with the Merrimack, New Hampshire Police Department.
And keep the public informed of every motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
And many moments, so you can be confident that we're here for you. Thanks for watching. Stay connected. Follow Merrimack TV on Facebook.
Thank you. Almost like you're in the room. It's going to be a lot easier.
Works for me.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, are we ready, Matt?
We are ready.
Okay, welcome to the Parks and Rec monthly meeting on September 16th, 2020. And I'm glad that you're all joining us. As I open the meeting, it is now 7:02. And my name is Laura Janes, and I am currently chairman of the Parks and Rec Committee. And I would like to introduce probably Christine, as she is co-chair.
Unmute yourself, Christine.
Where's Christine?
She's over here. She's muted. There we go.
I'm here. I forgot about the mute button. Sorry about that, folks. I'm Christine Lavoie, co-chair with Laura on the Parks and Rec Committee. And here we go. Who wants to go next? Tracy?
I'm Tracy McGraw, and I'm a member.
Pass the ball, Tracy, please.
Let's go to Shannon.
Shannon Barnes. I am the school board liaison.
Shannon? Somebody next?
How about Abby?
Oh, Abby. Hi, Abby.
Hi, I'm Abby Cody, student representative, who has not gone yet.
Maureen Hall, senior representative. How come I can only see 4 people on my TV thing?
All of you can stand.
Hold on one second, Maureen. Let's get through this and then I'll explain it. Rick?
Rick Grenier, MYA liaison. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Rick. Thank you for joining us.
Michelle, you didn't go yet.
No,
Michelle as well, member and secretary.
And the Beth secretary.
And Julie?
Julie Poole, committee member.
Maureen, on your screen, there should be a button that says, gallery view up on the top corner, top right-hand corner. And if you get that, it'll show you everybody instead of just who's speaking.
I'm afraid to hit any buttons. I might erase you all. I don't see anything that looks, it's supposed to be what?
Top right-hand corner, it should say probably gallery view or speaker view will show up.
Doesn't say anything. If I hit something and you're gone, you'll know I'm dead.
Okay.
You're not dead. Try participants at the bottom. Mine says participants at the bottom. I haven't even tried it.
Or grid view. Maureen, it could say grid view.
Oh, grid view. Yeah, it could be another.
It's not on the, I saw participants at the bottom. Now it's gone. Oh God, now I've wrecked it. Here we go. I got you.
You're still here. You're still here.
All right, well, I got 4 of you anyway, so I'll just figure out who the others are.
Well, yeah, which 4 of us? That's the important question.
I got the important.
All right, let's move on, Gloria.
Okay.
Are we expecting Barbara Healy? I thought she was in on this tonight.
No.
Town council. Okay. Is she the rep at this point?
I believe it's still Lon Woods.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, and we have a quorum this evening, so I'm looking for a motion if you've all had a chance to read the August minutes of August 19th. Thank you, Michelle, again for doing that. We did pretty well last month. Thank you, Matt, for all your work. Do I have a motion to accept the August minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Shannon. And a second?
I'll second.
And that was you, Tracy. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by raising your hand.
I I couldn't get off mute to second.
So just hang tight, because I think I have some abstain, right? Because like Shannon, you weren't here, so you'd be an abstain, correct?
Oh, I
Not
wasn't
an
abstaining.
approve?
I'm sorry. I was.
Right, okay, so for approval, hands up for a second, hold them. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 5 for approve. And then do we have anyone that doesn't want them? And then abstain should
Thank
be
you.
right, you 3, right? Awesome, 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
Thank you. Wait, Maureen, are you abstaining? I can't remember. So 4. Okay, 504. Thank you.
Good job, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate your efforts on all this. All right, moving on to new business. Initial discussion of 2021 to 22 Parks and Recreation Capital Improvement Projects, including Wasserman Park, dock replacement, office repairs, and other suggestions. Matt, can you address those dock?
Absolutely. So
Please.
it is that time of year again. We get through the summer, and then the first thing that comes when summer ends is starting to talk about the capital improvement projects. And then next month in October, we'll be talking about the budget more specifically. But so every year we have to submit a plan or a updated plan to the town manager and ultimately to the town council on our capital improvement project requests. And we're looking basically at 5 years at a time. And then, like I said, every year we just update it and extend one more year out. So for this year, we basically only have 2 projects that we're going to be requesting of the town. The first one is the replacement of the Wasserman Park docks. Now, the docks were not part of the beach renovation project, which I'll talk about later, but the beach renovation project itself is supposed to get underway this fall fairly soon. But this is specifically replacing the docks. They were, at one point in time, they were part of the beach renovation project, and just because of the overall cost of everything, we split it out into a separate year just to make it a little bit more affordable in a particular year. But the docks on Natticook Lake at Wasserman Park are currently 29 years old and are pretty much at the end of their natural lifespan. We've seen over the last several years a significant increase in maintenance required just to keep them functional, but they realistically are falling apart. These docks primarily are a wooden substructure to them, and they live in the water year round and are pretty much rotting out from the underneath. Part of the reason they live in the water year round is if we pull them out of the water, they're going to probably break, and then we're without docks altogether. So like I said, we've kind of cobbled them together for the last couple of years, but it's time to replace them. I will preface this by saying that once the beach renovation project gets done this fall, we are expecting obviously significantly more use of the beach. And so, we are looking to, continue the upgrade of that area, with the replacement of the docks. Now, currently down at Wasserman Park, we have an H-shaped dock. And if I go to replace that dock with modern materials in the same configuration, the estimate is $42,000. The concern I have, especially this year, is that voters aren't going to be likely to support $42,000 to replace docks. And so, over the last year, I've been talking to my camp staff and my waterfront staff about, how we could reduce the cost without jeopardizing how we function in camp and with our swimming lessons. And what we've come up with, and unfortunately I don't have a picture, I'm waiting for a revised picture from the dock manufacturer, but what we're basically looking at is a reverse L-shaped dock. And so essentially, if you're facing the water, the long side of the dock would be on the right-hand side of the beach, with the L-shaped bend going out to the middle of the lake going to the left. Part of the reason we've put it in that configuration is with our current docks, immediately to the right of the docks is a large section of kind of lily pads and weeds and, those kinds of things. And so if I take the dock out of there, all that stuff's gonna float into the swimming area, and obviously we're trying to keep it clean, so the dock itself acts a little bit as a barrier to that. The second piece of that is an L shape will give our lifeguards greater visibility of the water. So it's a direct view without having to have one person on the shore looking straight out versus another person looking at the back looking in. They have a cleaner line of sight that should allow us to still do what we know able to do. And then obviously the rest of the beach will be roped out to still mark off our swimming areas and mark the appropriate depths and that type of thing. So that's what we're looking at. The L-shaped dock is about half the price. It's around $21,000, as opposed, like I said, the full H is about 42. So it's a way to get the modern materials and replace the dock. And if we find down the road, obviously, that we do need more, then that's something that we could consider down the road in the future. So that's the dock project as it stands for this year. The second project on our list that I have on the list, and these are things that have been on the list for they've been on the list since I got here 7 years ago. And we're just now getting to it in our, as we've accomplished other things in the park, it's time to get to this one. So the second project actually deals with my office here at Wasserman Park. The building is probably 45 years old, and overall it's in decent shape. But we have kind of two significant problems. One is the building is not currently ADA accessible. Now, when up until 3 years ago, we used to ship back to Town Hall for the winter months, and so it was really only a summer office, and so it was less of an issue. But for the last 3 years, we've been here year round. And so it's because it is in our office and it is a public building, it really should be ADA accessible. And so right now we're looking at about a $7,000 cost on the ramp to make that compliant. And then the second issue that we have with our building that's a little more urgent as well is replacing the roof on my office. We had every building in the park, all the roofs evaluated last year. Most of them hadn't been touched in 15 or 20 years. And so part of last year's progress was to kind of figure out where we were and how soon we needed to complete some of those. As you may recall, we did do 3 building roofs last year that were in urgent need. And so we have one roof this year, which is my office, at an estimated cost of $4,800. So kind of improvements to my office comes out to $11,800 is what I'm looking to request of the town this year. Does anybody have questions on either of those? Laura?
Yeah, where would the ramp go? From the side, from the parking lot side, in and around like that?
I'd be looking at, basically there'd end up being like a small deck on the front of the building, and then the ramp would go to the right-hand side and then down along the sidewalk towards the parking lot behind my office. And that's what makes it kind of expensive. It's a long run to get the elevation correct.
Right. No other structural problems in that office at this point then?
None at this point.
Good. And anything here about Wasserman, the park itself, the Lions project or anything, or the Rotary project improvements down there?
Not at this point.
Oh, that's fine.
And again, we're specifically talking about capital projects, which are going to be our bigger projects in town. I will say Public Works is talking about, there's been some discussion about, the town council had a discussion at their retreat a couple of weeks ago about fields. So there may be some money coming down the road for fields. As well as the lights at Martell Field, which frankly keep breaking. Those lights are about 20 years old, and the light towers themselves aren't tall enough anyway for softball, and at some point are going to just stop working. But but those particular requests will come from Public Works, and not from us. But with that said, is there other, actually, before I say that,
No.
so that's this year's project. Looking ahead to 2022-23, we have 3 additional buildings that we're going to be looking at roofs. Right now we tentatively have earmarked in looking at finishing the function hall basement, which again has 3,000 feet of unfinished space that we could do a lot with if we were to spend the money to fix it. And there is also a placeholder in the budget, which I think also came from DPW, for MYA parking lot reconstruction. My understanding is they are going to be starting to work on the bridge over Babusick River, which is next to the MYA building. And so I think there's going to end up being a temporary bridge going in, and which may have an impact for a little while on the MYA parking lot. But then there has been some discussions about potentially making a kind of one-way enter, one-way exit of the MYA parking lot. You know, like if you're right now, if you go left out of the parking lot, you're really close to the light at Babusick Lake Road, and so it's a tough left turn when there's traffic. But that's still, you know, at least 2 years out from now. 3 years out from now, there is a placeholder right now for $750,000 for athletic fields. This year for the council's retreat, I was asked to give some give an update on kind of potential athletic field sites, and you know, I've obviously provided the stuff that this committee's talked about for the last 3 or 4 years. I did mention last year about this time we were talking about some land the town was acquiring on Pearson Road, which seems like an ideal choice to potentially build 2 fields. But obviously also gave them the other site that we talked about. So hopefully 3 years from now, there's some potential for field development there as well. But with that said, is there other projects that people can think of that are kind of bigger in nature that, you know, should be on our list that, you know, that I haven't mentioned?
I don't think so. Anybody have any thoughts? I will say I'm pleased about the L-shaped dock. I think that's a great way. I think that'll work very nicely. What will that be made of, do you think?
There's a couple of different materials, and so I won't know yet until we fully spec it out, but metal, plastic, you know, like 20-year warranty and, you know, 30-year warranty and that kind of stuff. So
perfect. That will really help with the flow of the area with the milfoil and all. Okay, thank you.
Laura?
Moving on. Yeah.
Wait, I see Rick's hand raised.
Yeah.
Yes, Rick.
Thank you. Matt, I'm curious if you do get the new docks or when you get them, is your plan to remove those in the winter or not necessarily?
Probably, and which it'll be a lot easier to do it, obviously. Right now, it's just such a big structure to try and take apart, and, you know, we don't have the equipment to move it, but the new ones, we most likely would be able to do that.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Rick.
Was there somebody else that had a question?
Yeah, well, just a suggestion on other projects, and that is, I've brought up a couple of times that the Fields Needs report was actually from 2010, and everything's changed. You know, from the fields that were reported on, the lands available, the MYA, and other community leagues like adult softball leagues, etc., adult soccer leagues. And I just didn't know if, you know, really as we're going forth, if there's really been a refresh of the data that can be done. And I taking the existing architecture, but updating the content to make sure that as we're preparing for budgets, as we're preparing for, you know, service offerings, that we know what resources we actually have to work with and the demand for those resources and and a management plan for those resources. So I think it's completely out of date. And I think probably it needs, you know, for long-term planning and strategizing, I think it needs to be addressed. And then when you go into budget season, it's probably gonna take you a while to do it, but when you're going to budget for those capital improvements, you know what you're asking for.
You know, and I mean, I think we have I don't know if it's formally written up as an updated document, but I mean, there was a group of us, you know, MYA in the high school and others that looked at this, I don't know, two and a half, 3 years ago. And part of the challenge at the time was that there just wasn't a great option. You know, the Pearson Road option that we learned about last August has been kind of the most promising lead that we've had, you know, in recent times. Now that particular parcel, the town engineer drew up kind of preliminary configuration for two multi-purpose fields. Essentially, you know, it's a long way from what we need, but it would be a starting point. And again, like I said, a lot of the other stuff that we've looked at just isn't really viable. Like we talked about Horse Hill, but the land that was kind of set aside for fields is kind of buried on the interior with difficult access, and it would be really challenging and really expensive to develop a field back there. You know, multi-purpose fields were kind of the top of the list. So anytime we can build multi-purpose fields, that's mostly what we're going to be focused on at this point. But thank you, Shannon.
Yeah. Any other comments, people, or questions?
Michelle?
Thank you, Matt. I don't know how to get my participants here.
Yeah,
Hi,
thanks.
Michelle.
Hi. Just for clarification, Matt, you said approximately 7,000 for the new ramp and 12 for the roof.
Approximately, yes. Well,
Yeah.
12. It's 12,000 total. It's 7,000 for the ramp, and it's about $4,800 for the roof.
Okay, I knew either 12 was the total or okay. Thank you.
Rick?
Matt, I've forgotten the status of our skateboard park, and are we planning financially for changes there?
I was just going to ask that question.
Well, and maybe Shannon can shed some light. I mean, the last notice that I got via the council from the school district was that they were allowing us to keep the park there. But yeah, we should have earmarked money out, you know, in an out year in case the school district does decide to start utilizing that property. And I had forgotten about that, so thank you for reminding me.
Sure.
At this point, it's status quo. So obviously, there's been no immediate need to address that.
Yeah.
We always looked at it from, you know, if the time comes, we'll try to give ample notice, and that there should be a memo of understanding that was worked on between the two bodies. And I think it was in the hands of the insurance company at one point. So I'm not sure exactly where that went, but I can look back on that as well. But there was no expectation to change it at this point.
Right.
Thank you, Shannon.
But I will put it as a placeholder, you know, 3 years out from now, just so we don't forget about it.
Fair.
Anybody else want to comment on new business stuff?
Okay.
Okay, moving on to old business.
Right,
Number one. Watson Park. Yay.
All right. So, a fair amount has happened in the last month. Obviously, we talked about at our meeting last month. We talked about that, you know, Watson Park had been closed on August 12th and still remains closed at this point. 2 weeks ago, Public Works Director Kyle Fox and I had made a recommendation to the town manager and the town council that now that we're kind of past Labor Day, we're now getting, you know, kind of 60-degree days instead of 85-degree days, that we could potentially open Watson Park and simply move the snow fence barrier across the park over to block off access to the river only, so that we could at least open the park itself. And again, allowing the park to be used by people. As you recall, our recommendation to the council and the town manager at the time was to recommend permanent fencing to permanently block off access to the river, because there just isn't any other good option. We can't restrict the park to residents only. because of the terms of the federal grant that we had accepted back in 2006. And so if we just open it back up again and the same problem happens next summer, we're going to be kind of stuck. And we fully expect that it will. So last week, the council had a long discussion at their meeting, and they voted to approve our initial recommendation of putting in fence along the southern border of the park, and to permanently block access to the river from Watson Park. At the same time, they also had a discussion about when to do that. Again, our thought was we could do it now, because the river access isn't the priority that it was in July and August. And at the time, they decided to keep it closed until fencing could be put in. So it remains closed at this point. Public Works is working on getting final quotes from contractors right now. So we are hoping that that's going to happen sooner than later. My understanding is the council is going to be discussing it again next Thursday at their meeting, on the 26th, I think it is. But their next meeting, they're going to be discussing that as well as Wildcat Falls, which doesn't fall under us. But I do want to share my screen here for a second, just to show you a picture of kind of the, if I can remember how to, 1 second, board, 1 second, if I can find my, I had it here, where'd it go? Hold on one. Nope, that's not the screen I want.
All I see is a blank screen.
I know, I opened the wrong file.
Okay. I hate that when that happens.
Hold on, I'm just trying to maximize the screen, but the Zoom logo blocks off the top of the screen, so I can't see.
Matt, you can stop sharing and reshare again, and then choose the right app that you want to share.
All right, hold on.
You're still on here, so mine is saying start video, but when I click start video, it says you cannot start because the host has disabled it.
Yep.
So
can you guys see my screen now?
Christine, I just started your camera again. You seem to have your camera off before, or something blocking the lens.
All right.
Put
Can you guys see my screen now?
No, Matt, we can't.
No, Matt.
All right, hold on.
Try it again.
Hold on. Let's go back into, technology's great when it works.
Exactly.
All right, share screen. There's the slide.
There you go.
There we go. All right, now can you see it?
Yep.
All right.
Yes.
All right, so this is an overview map of Watson Park. And what you'll see is there's a yellow line following the kind of southern border along the river. It goes along follows the river and then goes to the north. So basically it goes up and behind the pavilion. And what this does is there's an existing fence that starts at Daniel Webster Highway, which is a little hard to see in this particular map. It's kind of a dark brown shape. And the new proposed fence will start where the existing fence ends, go all the way across the back of the park, and then up to the north, so it'll fully block off access to the river. And so that's the proposal. And as I said, it is the initial estimate we have is $26,000. We've talked to a couple of contractors. We might be able to get it less than that, but we will just have to wait and see. And 1 second, let me get back to my, there we go. All right. Okay, anyway, so just real quick on that. Like I said, so more to come on that. Hopefully we'll get it in place, in the next couple of weeks. And then, by, early October, we'll be able to reopen the park at that point, unless the council decides something differently next week.
Matt, can I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
So were you were talking about, the reason we couldn't do it is to out of towners is because of the money that we received for the federal grant.
Correct.
Is there an expiration date on that, or is that like indefinitely?
That is indefinite. It was a federal grant, and so it is forever. We even talked to them, can we give the money back? It was $20,000, back then, and that's not even an option. So it has to remain protected in perpetuity. The only option, which isn't really a great one, was that you could find and essentially buy another 12-acre parcel of land in town and fully develop it and transfer the restrictions on this park to another park in town. But $26,000 for a fence, or the cost to buy another 12-acre parcel of land and fully develop it. You can't just say, "Oh, here's woods, here's your new park." That doesn't work. And they actually, there's a whole, and we talked about this last meeting, but there's a whole federal review that has to go through it. It's actually the Department of Interior that does it. And they'll say, okay, the value of what's here in the park at Watson Park now is X. And so you have to basically replicate that at whatever the new venue is. And it has to be land that we don't own currently.
Okay. And I apologize because I wasn't at the last meeting, but I know we had talked about in the past about, asking residents for, requiring residents to either purchase or have dump stickers in order to use the property, but we didn't really have the manpower to kind of keep somebody there. Is that kind of still the case? Is that what we were?
Well, we could, and we did, starting in mid-July, we've had staff there, or we did have staff there every weekend. And we technically could, but you're not allowed to. So if we don't charge residents to access the park, the most that you can charge a non-resident to use the park is the equivalent of whatever the neighboring facilities charge their residents. So we look at something like Silver Lake in Hollis or Amherst Town Beach. And so if their non-resident fee, or if their resident fee is $5, then the most we'd be able to charge is $5. Now, there's a whole host of problems with charging money. One, if you're charging parking, well, the problem we had is the parking lot only holds about 40 cars and it's full by 9 o'clock in the morning. Well, so you're going to make, and they're there for the day. So now you're going to make $200, but you're going to need 2 or 3 staff to enforce it and collect it. And you're going to still need the fence to border the park, because otherwise they're just going to walk around the attendant and skip them,
Yeah.
And then if you were to go to a per person fee, which you could technically do, again, say Amherst, it's kind of what the going average is for the area. If the going rate for a resident is $5, then that's what we can charge. Again, you're going to still have to fence off the whole front of the access to the park, and then have multiple people there to collect it, and it's more hassle than it's worth.
And I think that one thing too that we had run into, and I'd seen all over the Merrimack Forum and everything else, is that this was actually out of towners and a lot of Massachusetts cars and everything else, and I think charging people to come in and use it and everything else might kind of fix the problem, but not really. I think the only thing that's really going to fix the problem is having somebody there that's actually going to enforce the drinking, the trash everywhere, the defecating in buckets.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like all the crap that went on.
Right. And part of the problem, and one of the things that we talked about last month, was that it got to the point where the day before we closed the park, kind of the thing that tipped it over the edge is at one point the police went down there. There was cars parked on a Tuesday, and cars are parked all over the place, blocking people in. So they went to deal with that, and then they went and kind of peeked over the overbank to see what was going on, and public drinking and drugs and all that. And 2 officers kind of called in for help, and the chief happened to be there nearby, and so she went down. So the 3 of them went down, and when they went to enforce it, they found themselves surrounded by about 150 angry people screaming at them about racism and, well, you're only doing this because we're from out of town. And they honestly, there was one guy that went to the chief and basically said, well, I speak for everybody here and you can't tell me what to do. And
Oh my
they,
God.
the chief and the two officers thought they were going to get beat up, honestly. And if the police aren't, it's not even safe for them to go there
Yeah.
and enforce it. How can I pay some
Sad thing. It's a sad
20-year-old kid to stand there and try, you can't,
Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of people are using what's going on in the world as an excuse right now to be reckless, and nothing you can do about that.
And again, it's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
State parks, national parks. Up in North Conway, people were swimming in the fountains in the center of town. I mean, it's just
Ew.
everything. I mean, it's just gross.
Oh.
But yeah, you're right. They're using it as an excuse to kind of, I don't have to follow the rules anymore because it is
because of what's going on in the world. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So that, like I said, we looked at. I spent weeks on the phone with the state. The state administers the grant that we got from the federal government, and I spent a couple of weeks on the phone with them every day, kind of trying to examine every possible scenario. And there just isn't, other than going to buy and build a new park somewhere else in town, and then the restrictions there. Well, that just transfers the potential problem to the new location. So that doesn't necessarily help you either.
So Matt, is this going on in like our neighboring towns as well? I know you had mentioned North Conway, but is this also going on like Nashua and Amherst and
Basically anywhere that there was water this year, it was happening.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Laura, did you have your hand up?
No, I know there's still a lot of discussion about it. Will there be any kind of gate, do you think, if we do want to open it?
Yes, there is a plan right now to have basically an emergency access gate to the river, mostly for police and fire if they need to get down there.
Sure.
But beyond the gate will be posted no trespassing.
Right, but it makes it enforceable that way.
But it's enforceable that way, absolutely. But there will be
I'd like
for emergency.
I'd like to think that was 1 year, Julie, that all this happened, but I think the way the town is growing and the populations are changing everywhere. I don't know. I think I have mixed feelings too, but I also think we have to err in the side of safety for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. And obviously I know there's a lot of stuff going on in the forum, and Merrimack residents are upset because it's non-Merrimack residents that are ruining it for everybody. But
right.
I do, unfortunately, I think that, all the politics and everything else going on right now, people are using it as an excuse to just be reckless. And
the heat.
Yeah, it stinks because everybody else suffers. But I completely understand what you're saying, and safety is the number one, priority. So I agree.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Other questions on Watson Park? Like I said, council's going to be talking about it at my understanding is they're going to be talking about it at their meeting next week. The agenda won't be posted until Friday probably, so I'll know for sure Friday, but that's what I've been told. And then we'll hear more next week.
Great.
And I can update you guys next month or next week after depending on what they say.
Moving on to the
all right, so the beach. Beach renovation project is still on task for this fall. We had hoped to start right after Labor Day. The state was, reviewing all of our permits this summer, and then there's a window where they have to wait for public comment from people, and that window passed, and then they came back to the town with a handful of questions that they had about the project that they wanted a response from the town engineer before they'd issue the final permit. Don Tuamala, the town engineer, sent that stuff back to them earlier this week. So the permit should be coming any day now, and then hopefully we can get started, soon and get this done before the fall. So again, the first part of the project is we'll take the existing docks and kind of move them out of the way for the now. Again, because I don't want to attempt to pull them out of the water. They put in a temporary cofferdam around the existing swimming area, and then they come in and they dredge the swimming area of all the mud and muck that's accumulated over the last 30 years. Clean it all out, which will obviously make the water deeper, among other things, and nicer to swim in. Once that's done, then they'll start building the perched beach on the shoreline, which will essentially, we had to change, as I mentioned at previous meetings, we originally were trying to take out the 3 giant pine trees in the middle of the beach because of the safety hazard with all the tree roots sticking out 30 feet in both directions. The state denied that request, that part of the request, so we had to kind of retool our design a little bit. There'll be a retaining wall at the back of the beach, and there will a series of steps that'll go down to the sand. Once you're down on the sand, essentially it'll be flat sand to the water's edge instead of a sloping hill down to the water. And then, and so it'll be a much nicer beach to sit on. There will be improvements to handicap access, partially with this project, but also partially with future projects. But again, should make it a much nicer place for the beach to exist. So we're hopefully starting on that in the near future, and more to come once I have that. And so that's what I got on Wasserman Park at this point, on the beach.
Quick question, if you could just keep me informed, or the people from the Lake Association, so we can coordinate the milfoil stuff, and people are, we haven't met at all. They haven't met at all this year.
I actually talked to Roger this afternoon. Divers are coming. Yeah, the divers are coming Friday for their latest round of cleanup of milfoils. So, but I will let you know again once the next time, if there's enough for them to come in and do it again, before we.
That's his thing. Yep, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yep.
All right, moving on to Christine. Dog park update, sweetie.
Okay, hello. Let me get my agenda up here. I think the fund balance has been updated from the agenda, Matt, correct?
It has, yes.
Okay, so I won't read that up. So, okay, so we're doing pretty good with the dog park. We have need to schedule a cleanup so that we can get the mulch in. Just a matter of coordinating people in the COVID-19 era that we find ourselves in, and trying to round up enough volunteers to get that started. I did touch base with the landscapers, and they said they're ready to go. We just got to give them a date, so we just got to plan that. I know we're still in the need of some dog poop bags, so we'll put out a plea for any donations for that. It would be wonderful. What am I missing? What else do we want to talk about, Matt?
The dog bags, what do you need again? Don't they have to be like a certain grade and thickness, right?
One more time?
Sorry. They have to be a certain grade and thickness for the dog poop bags, or shape?
Well, we do, right. We do have, obviously it's two sizes dogs. So sometimes, some cheaper bags are fine for small dogs, and the bigger dogs sometimes require a little bit higher quality bag. I think we could probably post, Matt, or did we post on the dog park section of the Parks and Rec website the list of those rolls of bags that fill the center canisters that hold the poop bags? Did we list that there on the website?
I'm not sure. I'd have to check.
Okay, so maybe we can, check that. If it's there, great. People can check that. If not, we can maybe add that there, because those are a little bit more expensive than like some bags that you would get at the dollar store. Mm-hmm. We do try and take any dollar store donation type poop bags, which are the smaller rolls. I think Marshall's has them too, and we put them in little canisters around the park so that everybody has access. You are required to bring your own poop bags to pick up, of course, but we do try and, anytime they're donated, we put some out. Also put a reminder out there that you got to bring your water to the dog park. This is not a unknown fact, and that, users of the park should be bringing water for their dogs, as we don't have the water lines run, which segues into that question, Matt. Where do we stand on the DPW putting in that water line?
We're working on it. The challenge we've had with the water line is the original plan had been to extend the line from the back of the day camp office over to the dog park because it's the closest structure that has water already. And there's not enough power, not enough pressure in the line to get it over there. So we're exploring kind of pumps and that kind of thing. So I don't have an update on that at this point.
Okay, thank you. I think I'm done. Tracy, did I miss anything?
I would add one thing for excuse me, that was Barley's 2 cents.
That wasn't.
I'd add one thing for the dog park for the dog poop bags. You could also order them if you're so inclined from Amazon, and you can get large bunches of them for a low price, very akin to the dollar store, but you'll get more at one time rather than having to buy, a package that has 3 rolls per package or something. And also to support local businesses, Pet's Choice also has extra poop bags that can be purchased and donated to the dog park if someone was so inclined.
Absolutely. And Pet's Choice is one of our sponsors, so we appreciate that. That's a great little plug right there. Okay, so we got to schedule some volunteers and order some mulch. That's on our agenda this fall.
Excellent.
So I got 3 additional updates for the dog park. One is, as Christine alluded to, the fund balance on the agenda did change. The finance department was closing out their books from the last fiscal year and realized they had miscoded one of the expenses from last year for the dog park, and we didn't get charged for something that we were supposed to get charged for. It was last year's order of mulch that we had ordered. So that balance has been updated to $2,761.59 is what we have. That obviously does not count if we do a mulch purchase for this fall, which will be around $1,000. So, so that number is getting down a little bit. But secondly, we've been trying to work on the overgrown weeds in the park. We know they're there. We're having some equipment problems with equipment breaking, and which is why it's been such a slow process, but we're working on it. And then lastly, if you recall from last year, I think it was, we have a Boy Scout that is doing an Eagle Scout project at the dog park, which is to build an information kiosk to post rules and notices and, those kinds of things.
Right.
I met him out there yesterday, and the DPW is going to be digging their holes for the fence post. Probably next week. We have to dig safe it now, and then probably next week the holes will get dug, and then he'll be able to start putting the sign in. He's hoping to have that sign done and ready by early October. So maybe first or second week of October, assuming we hit no delays and no issues with ledge and that kind of stuff. So
Matt, is the area where the hole's going marked right now so that Tracy and I can check out and just make sure everything? Okay.
And I think you came with us when we initially met with him last year. Basically, it's between where the utility gate is and where the dumpster is, sort of the side. When they dig safe it, they'll kind of dig safe the whole area. They may have to move where it goes depending on if they hit ledge or not.
Right.
So we won't know until they actually start digging the holes if we'll be able to get it in. I know when we did the sponsor sign on the other side, we had to move it a couple of times. So.
Right.
But yeah, it is marked over there.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
If I could just, if it's okay, if I could just add something talking about the sign that the Eagle Scout is putting up for us. Christine and I have been working on a list of ideas of what to incorporate into that sign, postings, copy of the rules, info on donations and things like that. If anyone has any ideas of what can be put in there, whether it's, an intermittent thing or whether it should be a constant reminder kind of a document, let us know, and we can try to put all of that information together so we can hit the ground running as soon as he finishes it.
Great idea.
Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you, ladies. Appreciate your input, Christine, as usual. All right, director's report. Keep talking, Matt.
I know. We finished the summer. Summer's over, and we're very happy about that.
Yeah.
Our concert series went really well. You know, I was pretty nervous at the beginning of the summer with the concerts. You know, the first 2 weeks, I think we had like 35 people. And then as people kind of got a little more comfortable with how we were set up and the social distancing that was in place, that number started ticking up kind of every week as the summer went on. So we finished averaging about 100 people a week on the concerts. So that was good. We did 3 movies in the park this summer, which also went very well. We did one adult-based movie, which was the final Star Wars movie, which didn't go great. It only had about 35 people. But then we did Toy Story 4 in August, and we did Frozen 2. And both of those ended up with about 100 people. And again, we were able to socially distance. And so that went really well as well. Was one of the few kind of normal things that we were able to do this year. So at least we got that in. Looking ahead to the fall, we have a couple of events going on. Coming up in about 2.5 weeks, on Saturday, October 3rd, we are going to be organizing the Wasserman Park, a 5K obstacle course race called the Natticook Challenge. And it's a combination 5K trail race with minor fitness obstacles incorporated into it. It's going to be using the park as well as the Wasserman Conservation Land and there'll be a whole network through the trails on that Saturday morning. But basically, the trail will leave from behind my office. It'll go out into the conservation trails, go down the hill, come out near the theater at the bottom of the hill, go over to the beach, come back up the trail side by the sports field, and ultimately make its way all the way back around to my office. And they'll end up doing that loop twice to make the 5K distance. Registration for the event is open and ongoing. We're starting to really pick up a lot of registrations right now. The cost is $35, but they get a really cool race shirt, which if you go to our website or our Facebook page, you can see it. I'm not going to attempt to share my screen because we saw how well that worked last time. But race shirt and a finisher's medal. I am looking for volunteers to help that day if anybody's available. The first race starts at 8 a.m., but I'm looking for people kind of 7:30 a.m. Until about 11 o'clock. And it's to either helping with check-in and then helping with kind of supervise the obstacles to make sure people are doing the obstacles and those kinds of things. But stand there and watch and, kind of make sure they're going where they're supposed to go, or if there's a trail junction, making sure that they're going the right way, or, those kinds of things. But if anybody's interested, please let me know. We've also reached out to Rotary and the Lions Club and a few other groups to see who else might be able to help us, but I could use at least a dozen people. So if anybody's interested, again, let me know on that one. Originally, the National Night Out event that's normally held in August had been pushed back to October. But based on the guidelines for public events and the governor's executive order about masks and related to events, the police department and I made the decision to cancel National Night Out this year. It's an event that usually sees 400 people, and how do you social distance at, say, Abbey Griffin Park and still have kind of activities going on? There just wasn't an easy way to do it, unfortunately, this year. So that event has been canceled. On Saturday, October 10th, we are going to be hosting a community blood drive from 9 to 2 here at Wasserman Park in the function hall. All donors will get a COVID-19 antibody test, which obviously shows if you've had COVID in the past. We also will be giving away the Park and Rec buffs that we've had made earlier in the summer. About half our time slots are filled at this point. So if you are interested in donating, go to our website to go to the link to register to donate. From what I'm hearing from other blood drives, the drives are filling up, and so they're not taking walk-ins at this point, just to ensure that there's proper social distancing and that kind of thing. But again, the information on that is on our website. And then lastly, well, in terms of immediate fall programs, is our annual Halloween party. Due to COVID, we had to kind of rethink how that program could work this year. And since, right now the function hall has capacity restrictions on it, and so we basically can't use the function hall at all, and I don't have enough exterior lights to do a nighttime event and still keep people socially distant. And so what I've done is I've proposed to the town manager and to the town council a entirely outdoor event to be held on Saturday, October 24th, that we're calling the Monster Stroll. What we're looking at is a event on that Saturday from 12 to 3, so I don't have to worry about lights. We're looking at almost like a trick-or-treat type event where the community partners that work with us will be spaced out in front of the various cabins within Wasserman Park, and they will travel in a set path from activity to activity. This is going to be a timed ticket event, so people will have to pre-register in advance so that we can control the numbers. And then we'll be, as they come in and check in, we'll be dismissing them every 2 to 3 minutes, so that there's no, kind of one family at a table at a time, and so that people can be socially distant. With the community partners that we work with, and these are kind of business and community organizations, we've asked them for either activities that either they can be, give the materials to the kids to take and complete, like a craft project, and okay, here's your craft materials, and now you take it with you, so that there's no sharing, or it's things that can be, if it's a game, for example, something that can easily be cleaned between each different family coming through. And then of course we have masks and gloves and hand sanitizer and all that. I've submitted that to the town manager and the town council. I'm waiting for an answer to see if that's been approved. And we will see. I've asked for an answer by the end of September, just so we have enough time to fully put everything into place. But once I get that approval, assuming we do, we will make registration available to that. Like I said, it will be a timed ticket event, and anybody that doesn't have a ticket won't be allowed to attend. We will be making it an event for Merrimack residents only. This event usually sees 800 to 1,000 people at it, and we're going to be reducing the capacity down to probably around 300 over the 3-hour time block, in order to control that. But again, we want to make sure our residents get in, and so we're not restricting it that much. So hopefully we'll have more on that in the next 2 weeks. I'm kind of hoping
you always have good ideas. So.
It's an idea. And again, the council's meeting next week, so I'm kind of hoping they'll take it up on their agenda next week, but we'll see. Next on my agenda, so the town of Merrimack's 275th anniversary is next year. The town council decided last week, I think it was last week, that they are going to be commemorating the event, and has formed a committee, which apparently I'm in charge of. I'm not sure exactly who's going to be on the committee, or if it's going to be a single day event, or it's going to be something that goes the entire year, or it's, a weekend, or the official anniversary is April 2nd, but that's Easter weekend. So I'm kind of guessing they're not going to want to do something on Easter weekend, but we'll see. And, we kind of have to, in the age of COVID, we have to kind of plan for both virtual activities as well as in person, and kind of as things play out, we'll see which way we can go, but we kind of have to plan for both. So I'm not sure who's going to be on the committee at this point. I've been told probably the Heritage Committee, the town council rep, Paul McCallie from Finance, and myself, and whether they add anybody else, I'm not sure. We're having a preliminary meeting next week on it, and then I'll know more, and we'll kind of go from there. But town's planning that, and this will be the event that will kind of replace the canceled 4th of July fireworks. So whatever we do, the idea is to kind of do the whole shebang, and some there'll be grand fireworks celebration, but again, maybe we'll do something, maybe it's once a month, there'll be something all year long, or maybe it'll be a I think when they had the 250th, because I've started reading the materials on it, they did like something in April, something in May, something in June, and then like the big send off was in July with the 4th of July, and so maybe they'll do that. I don't know yet. So we'll see. So that's coming. And then the last thing I have on my agenda, we do have money in this year's budget, and technically it's available now to resurface the 7 tennis courts at Wasserman Park. And while the funding is available to us now, I'm told by the tennis court experts that it's better to do it in the spring versus now, just because if you do it now, it doesn't have enough time to kind of fully cure before winter, and you risk cracks and freezing and all that. So spring is the better time to do it. Now, historically, the high school tennis team, which does practice and play here, is usually chomping at the bit to get out on our courts in the spring as soon as the snow's gone. And that's usually late March, early April. So whether we do the resurfacing once the weather gets warm in the spring, or whether we wait until high school finishes their season, I'm not sure. I have to talk to the athletic director about it, once we get a little closer to that. But my guess would be probably waiting until high school tennis finishes and then do it in June before camp starts, but we'll see. But it is on the list for this year to complete. And so more on that later. And that is all I got. And you're muted, Laura.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Yeah, my head's spinning too. All right, Maureen, hi. Senior Club. Senior Citizen. How are you?
I'm good. How's everybody else?
Sure. Just ducky.
Well, the seniors aren't doing much, of course. They're not planning on opening up the center until at least spring. Because we're at that age group that we're really susceptible to a lot, and
absolutely.
And all the people are really nervous because the flu is going to be coming too. So what do, right? And the facility isn't that big. So right. You can only have one person at a table if you wanted to have 6 feet. So how do you pick and choose like 20 people that come into the building? So it's rough. So they just decided, hopefully by the spring, maybe this will be under control and we can get back together.
Yeah.
All the oldies.
It's a tough time. All this worrying is hard on everybody. But thank you for being with us today.
You're welcome.
Okay, Abby, thank you for joining us tonight.
Hello. So
how's
the biggest change, it's going good. The biggest change is that we are back in school. We're doing hybrid. We're doing 2 days where we go to school and 2 days where we don't. And the school is split in half. So half the school goes on those 2 days and the other half goes on the other 2 days. And split alphabetically. And so far it's been pretty good. Everyone's staying socially distanced. Masks are always on. And everyone has done a really good job with dealing with that, which is cool.
That's good.
The biggest kind of thing going on right now is schedules. So most people are trying to work their schedules, the classes they're in. And the biggest piece of advice I can give is go to guidance and email them. That's basically what they want you to do. Schedule a meeting and talk to them first. In terms of events coming up, the biggest one is the football, cheer, and band senior night coming up on the 25th, where all the seniors will walk out with their parents and whatnot. And it's kind of nice to have that bit of normalcy. But,
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you for being with us, and keep safe and have fun. What happens on the other day, the transition day? What do they call that?
So it's called a flex day, where no one's going to school. And there can be assignments, but generally it's supposed to almost kind of be like a catch-up day for teachers and students.
Absolutely. That's well thought out. That's good. Thank you so much.
Yes.
All right. And MYA, hi, Rick. How's it going?
Good, thank you. Things have been busy with us, as they usually are. The first thing I want to do is thank Brian Harris for his many years of service to MYA, and most recently as our president. He recently retired, but he's done so much for the MYA and for the children of our town. And secondly, in turn, John Calabro has stepped up as our new president. So we've had a few personnel changes, and that's a pretty important position, as you might imagine.
Absolutely.
Sports that are currently in session include fall baseball, fall softball, soccer, and football. And we still do have one vacancy on our executive board. That would be a member at large position. And as always, if viewers need more information, they can go to the Merrimack Youth Association.com. And I think that's all I have right now.
Do you have a secretary then?
Yes, we have a new secretary as well. Becky Hayes has taken over that position.
Thank you. That's a good update. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nice to see you.
Thank you. You also.
Thank you. Shannon, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. And I'm glad I could make it this time. Sorry for August, but the board was meeting that night as well. I think we went a little later than you guys did. It was very, very, very late. So obviously school in session, I think Abby covered it. Keeping an eye on, safety being paramount, and really just going into this with very, very cautious steps, very deliberate steps. And, with that, we do have sports in play this fall. So that was something obviously for the HIAA sanctioned sports that was, having to be weighed very carefully by each individual district. And it's being done a little differently with, closely geographically aligned schools. I think it also lessens the trips on buses, those kind of things. There are a hardship when you're dealing with those long bus trips between some of those schools. So far so good. Early on in the process, but keeping a very close eye on things to make sure that we have 3,000 students, we have 800 staff. So when you talk about the concentration of people, that's what the Merrimack School District is for the community, and making sure that we do everything and take every step to keep the community as safe as possible, knowing our impact on the greater good. So.
Well, I personally appreciate all the time and effort and thinking and reworking things that has gone into this. It's not been easy, but keeping our fingers crossed.
We all are. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And nobody is here from town council, and you pretty sure that's Lon? Okay, perfect. Anybody have any other thoughts or comments or?
I've got a question for Abby. Abby, is the high school band playing this fall or performing or?
So for marching band, we are. We're doing more of a park and play rather than a show, because that way we can walk onto the field socially distance and leave socially distance. Okay. But we're still doing a show just like normal. We have different covers for our instruments and masks you can wear while playing. So to minimize airflow coming in and out, which is really cool. And then for concert band, we don't know yet because it's really hard to do outdoor rehearsal for concert band. And that's really the only way we can do it and be safe right now. So, yeah.
I asked, we're starting to think about like the tree lighting, for example, and how do you do that? And obviously the band has always been a big part of that event. And so that was one of my questions. So, and I don't know how we do the tree lighting at this point, but we'll see.
Yeah. So long as we could be socially distanced, it would theoretically be okay, because parades are obviously we're spread apart anyways. It's very uniform, and it's marching music that can be practiced outdoors. So yeah, it seems plausible.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
I have a question. Yeah. Julie okay? Is Julie okay? I'm looking at her picture and I can't tell if she's being attacked or
to let the dogs out, so I changed the background because I was walking. And
Good question, Tracy. I didn't see it. That's awesome.
You have to change.
You look like a nature ad.
Sorry, I don't mean to be
distracted. Too funny.
All right.
Well, Well, keep up the good work, Matt, because it's a lot of work.
Thank you. And it doesn't look like we have anybody on the phone.
Correct.
And nobody emailed me in advance of the meeting with any particular public comments. Future meeting dates is Wednesday, October 21st. And Wednesday, November 18th are the next two scheduled meetings at this point. And we'll see where things are next month and whether we're still virtual or not, and we'll go from there.
Right. Great. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Do I have that motion? It is now 8:10.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank
I'll
you,
second.
Susan. Thank you, Christine. Wave to the camera. All those in favor. Thank you, Matt, for putting up with us.
Thanks, Nick LaValle.
Thanks, everybody.
Merrimack TV is committed to our community. From gavel-to-gavel coverage of town and school board meetings to updates on town services and projects, we aim to keep you connected.
Good morning, I'm Kyle Fox, Public Works Director for the town of Merrimack.
Hi, I'm Diane Trippett. I'm the town clerk tax collector for the town of Merrimack.
I'm Captain Matt Tarleton with the Merrimack, New Hampshire Police Department.
And keep the public informed of every motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
And many moments, so you can be confident that we're here for you. Thanks for watching. Stay connected. Follow Merrimack TV on Facebook.